So in this class, we are going to be drafting our skirt first, so we can cut our skirt out. I'm just going to write out the measurement that we'll be using for our skirt. So our measurement goes like this. The hip measurement is 40. The waist measurement is 27. The hip depth, that is the depth of the hip from the waist to the hip, is 9.25. Then the knee is, which is the ease of the knee, I'll be using 33 for the knee ease. And then for the length of the short skirt, because we're going to be drafting a short skirt right now, the length of skirt, I'll be using 20. For my length of skirt, I'll be using 20 inches. All of these measurements are in inches, please. All of these measurements are in inches. So I'm going to start. The first thing I'm going to start with is to draw my margin. The first thing I'm going to start with is to draw my margin. What do I mean by margin? I don't want to start working on the tip of the paper. So I'm just going to measure, just for neatness of work. This is just so that our work can be neat, nothing more. So on this side, I'm going to measure 1 inch. And on this side, I'm also going to measure 1 inch from the side of the paper. Do you see that? So I'm just going to take a ruler and I'm just going to take a straight line all the way down from that point. All the way down like that. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw another margin on this top part. That means on this upper part, I'm going to draw another margin. Also, I'm going to use 1 inch. So I'm just going to mark 1 inch from the top of the paper. I'm also going to mark another 1 inch from the top of this paper. And just like we just did, I'm just going to rule again and connect this line together all the way down, all the way across. So now we have our margin. So this is the margin. So now our first step is that we are going to divide our hip measurement by 2. Hip measurement by 2. So our hip is 40, which means 40 divided by 2 will give us 20 inches. So from here, I'm going to measure 20 inches across. So here we have 20 inches, like this. So I'm also going to come down here, and also from this margin, I'm going to measure 20 inches. Don't forget that the margin is just for neatness of work. The same way in our exercise book, we have a margin where we write numbers and alphabets and numerics and all of that, so that we don't start writing at the edge of our book. That's exactly what we are doing here. So now I'm going to measure. I'm going to take a ruler from this point to this point, and I'm going to take it all the way down. So which means from this point to this point is 20 inches. From this point to this point is 20 inches. And how did we get that? It is simply by dividing our hip by 2. So again, we are going to divide our hip by 4. And this is to get our front and back separately. So 40 divided by 4 will give us 10. So I'm going to measure from here, and I will measure 10 inches. This is 10 inches. So this 10 inches simply differentiates the front from the back. So I'm also going to come here, and I'm going to measure 10 inches. Like that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a straight line all the way down to divide the front from the back. So just like that. So now we have front and then we have back. Okay, so now we have front and we have back. This is the front, this is front, and then this is back. This is the center front line, which is CF line. It means this is the middle of our front. And then this is the center back line, which means this is the center of our back. You can choose to switch it. You can put front here, you can put back here, it doesn't matter. But wherever you label as your front remains your front, wherever you label as your back remains your back. So the next thing we are going to do, don't forget this is our waistline. This is waistline. Here is also our waistline. So what we are going to do next is that we are going to measure our hip depth. That is the measurement from the waist to the hip. So in this case, our measurement is 9.25. So I'm going to measure and mark 9.25. I'm also going to measure and mark 9.25. This is 9.25. So I'm going to place a ruler and I will take a straight line across this point. So here now is our hip line. Here becomes our hip line. So the next thing we are going to do after here is to get the length of our skirt. What is the length of our skirt? We are making a short skirt first, so our length of skirt is 20. So from the waistline here, I'm going to measure 20 inches. So on this part also, I'm going to measure 20 inches also on this part. Don't forget 20 inches is our length. 20 inches is our length. So I'm going to measure 20 inches like this. So here's 20 inches. This is our short skirt length. Short length, just to indicate that this is where our short skirt length will stop. So the next thing we are going to do after doing this, don't forget waistline, hip line, and our length of skirt. Center front line, center back line, front and back. I hope that is well understood. The next thing we are going to do now is to divide our waist by 4. We'll divide our waist by 4. Our waist is 27. Divided by 4 will give us 6.75. And don't forget, we are making a dartless skirt. This skirt is not going to have any darts. It's not going to have any dart. It's a dartless skirt. So our waist, which is 27, divided by 4 will give us 6.75. So here, from the center front line, I'm going to measure 6.75. From the center front line, I'm going to measure 6.75. So here we have 6.75. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to connect this point to this point, to this one. This is the HP. This is the part where the front hip and the back hip meet. So I'm going to be connecting this all the way to that point. Like this. Can you see that? Can you see that? Very good. So I'm just going to connect it like that. Then the next thing I'm going to do for the back is a little bit different. So for the back, we're going to be doing some shaping, some contouring. So what I'm going to do on this point is that I'm going to measure 2 cm in first. I'll measure 2 cm in, or you can use 1 inch. Anyone is fine, either 2 cm or 1 inch. But I like to use 2 cm because the body is also going to be shaped by 2 cm. After this 2 cm, the moment we mark this 2 cm, I'm going to connect that 2 cm to this center back. To this back like this. I'm going to connect that 2 cm like that. Can you see it? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off this point. This point we're going to be cutting it out. It's a shaping. We call it contouring, skirt contouring. So we'll do this. So this is to tell us that this is not part of our measurement. We're going to get it off. So from this place, from this new line, from that new line, I'm just going to measure 6.75. Don't forget 6.75 is our actual waist measurement, which is waist divided by 4. 27 divided by 4 is 6.75. So I'll mark 6.75 here. And I'm also going to connect this same 6.75. I'm going to connect it back to this hip point like this. Can you see that? So all of these measurements will be going out. So this will not be going. So the next thing we want to do is to shape our lower skirt. So how do I go about that? Our knee is here, which is the knee area, the point of the short skirt. We have 33. We are going to be dividing our knee is by 4. Don't forget our knee is 33. 33 divided by 4 will give us 8.25. 8.25. So what I'm just going to do is that over here, from the CF line, I'm going to measure 8.25. From here, we're going to measure 8.25. So that means from here to here is 8.25 inches, as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do is to just use a ruler. I'm going to be making use of a straight ruler to connect our hip line, which is on this point, to this point. So just like this, you can see that connection. So I've connected that. I'm going to work on the back now. So for the back, it's a little bit different again because we'll be contouring the back. So how do we contour the back? From the center back line, from this line, I'm going to first of all measure 1 inch. 1 inch. This is to contour our underbone. We need to contour our underbone. So I'm going to measure 1 inch and I'm going to use a ruler to take it back to this hip line. You know, it must meet back on the hip line. So this is it, and I'm going to be cutting this one off, which means this one is no longer part of our measurement. We are going to be taking it off. Okay, so now from this our new line, I'm now going to measure what we actually have for our knee line. Don't forget, for our knee line we have 33. 33 divided by 4 will give us 8.25. So here I'm going to measure 8.25. You can actually reduce it a little bit because our back will have a slit. So you can do a slight reduction. Instead of marking 8.25, you can remove 0.5, which means you can minus 0.5 from the actual measurement. So you can actually make this 8.25 minus 0.5. That will be 7.75. So I'm going to mark 7.75. But this is not compulsory. You can actually mark the original point that you have, which is 8.25. You can choose to do that. But because we have a slit, you know, you can just do a little more reduction at that back because your back slit will be open. So here it's not going to be so tight or anything like that. So don't forget, it's not compulsory, which means you can choose to mark the entire measurement. So this is it. I'm going to cut off this. Okay. So this is it. Now finally, before we move on, we are going to work on the waist measurement now. So this waist is too straight. Our body is not this straight. We have curves all over our body, and it's because we have curves all over our body, that's why we are, you know, shaping here, shaping here, shaping here, shaping here. So there are a few more shapings that will be done. On the center line, on the CF line, I'm going to measure 2 cm down. You can actually measure 1 inch. 1 inch also works, but sometimes I feel 1 inch can be a little too much, so I like to stick with 2 cm. So at the back also, I'm going to come down by 2 cm. So on the front, I'll come down by 2 cm and I will reshape this point. Can you see it like that? I'm going to reshape this point like this. From this point, I'll connect it back to the original side. So which means I'm not taking anything out of my side. I'm only taking 2 cm down on the CF line. So this also will be going out. But I'm also going to come down here by 2 cm. So I'll mark 2 cm. And I'll also shorten this to connect this back to this point. So So this is 2 cm, and I'm just going to, did you see how I connected it back? We didn't take anything from our side. So here is what we have for both front and back. So the final thing that we'll be doing here is to elongate our skirt. That means to make our skirt longer. So the initial length that we want for this particular class, long skirt length, is 40 inches. So we are going to take this to 40 inches. So how do we do that? From our normal straight line here, we are going to measure. So now, measuring the entire paper, we don't have up to 40. So what we have here is about 35. So I'm sure when I measure here too, we'll have about 35 or so. So we are just going to use this 35 for now. Since our paper is not up to 40, we'll add the remaining 5 inches length when we want to cut it on the fabric. I hope that is clear. So we'll be adding the remaining one on the fabric. So we'll just use this paper as the long length for now. So how do we make our skirt long? All you have to do is measure what you have here to here, which is 8.25. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to measure the same 8.25. I'll mark it here, and then I'll take a straight line. And connect it back to this line. So I'm just going to come down like this. So this is how you get a long straight pencil skirt. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. Don't forget we did 1 inch here, 1 inch contouring, 1 inch shaping. So I'm going to measure that 1 inch also here. I'm going to take a straight line from this 1 inch. So which means everything here would go. Don't forget this is a shaping, and that shaping must go all the way down. So everything here will go, and then we'll measure. What did we use here? We used 7.75. Remember, 7.75. So I'm just going to mark it like that, and then don't forget what we measure here to here is exactly what we are measuring from here to here. Then just take a straight line down. So the same, this is also going out. So this is also going out. So here we have our back, waist, and then we have front, waist. This area is our zip area, and then this area is our slit area. So I'm going to cut this out. So we'll go ahead and cut this out. So here we are done with our skirt pattern. We're just going to go ahead and transfer this pattern to fabric.